Welcome to the Vermilion Podcast, a free audio library of business strategies, creative inspiration, and industry knowledge for actors, filmmakers, writers, and anyone looking to activate their creative potential. I'm Misha Calvert, a writer-director who helps artists build the careers that they dream of. I really hope that this podcast inspires you in some way. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to a brand new show. I'm Misha Calvert, and it's so great to be with you in a brand new set. And we've got a guest today who is going to interview me, actually. So I'm very glad that you're joining us for this studio recording. And this is AMT. Hi, AMT.
Hi, happy to be here.
Very happy to have you. You're a director, and you're going to interview me, also a director. But why don't we hear a little bit? They know who I am, whatever, who cares? Who are you, and what is your background with directing?
I just graduated from school for directing for theater specifically. But while I was there, I really got into film, and so I started taking film classes. And although most of my background is in theater, I want to learn how to really get into directing for film. So I have some questions about that.
Amazing. I love that. And we've been working together on the team for a little bit, so I already know you. I'm not scared of your questions, but they might be pretty heavy hitting. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see, indeed. So how did you get your start in directing?
I got my start in directing, really as a child. And I was setting up film shoots in my backyard and theater performances in my backyard without anyone telling me how to do it or what to do. It was like very natural. And very, like, I had to do it. There was no way that I was going to not put on plays and movies. So I was like quite a prolific filmmaker when I was a kid. Then a lot of stuff happened, like kind of got derailed by, junior high and high school. And then in college, I went back to directing for the stage. And mainly because there was opportunity. There was opportunity to take the black box theater and rent it, and like you could propose a show to put on there. And I had read this play, I think for a class maybe, and I fell in love with this play, and I was like, oh my God, I have to put on this play. And that play was Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. So as a 19-year-old college student, that was the first thing that I directed as an adult.
Very cool.
And then with the film directing, that was about 10 years ago. And that was just desperation. Like I was acting and I wasn't getting the roles that I wanted. So I decided to create something that it was a role for myself that I knew I could play. And a producer found the script and wanted to make it. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. She's like, yeah, you should also co-direct it because you're a woman and women need more credits as directors. So I was like, okay. So then I did. Never looked back.
What filmmakers and directors do you take inspiration from?
Any woman who's a director who's made a big film is incredible. It's very hard to do as a woman, and people don't want to trust you with the budgets. They don't want to trust you with production. So hats off to any female identifying director who has made a film. I have been a fan of Spielberg for my whole life. I feel like I've talked about this in a previous podcast, but yeah, his work and his epic movies and his action adventure movies and just the way the man understands camera and is willing to play to a wide audience has really informed my taste. And they're the kind of movies that I want to watch. They're also ultimately the kind of movies that I want to make. So that's been a little tough meshing that with being an indie director, which you never have that kind of money on an indie set. So it's been interesting to try and navigate my voice as a filmmaker and somebody who does gravitate towards kind of bigger concepts and not having bigger budgets to match. But I would say he's probably one of the biggest influences.
And since you have worked both in theater and in film, I was wondering what you think the biggest difference is between directing for stage and screen.
With indie film, the director isn't usually just directing. They're usually helping produce or writing or executive producing or, helping set up like the furniture, at least in my experience. So I don't know. Is it that way in indie theater or like off Broadway?
I would say so. I think it really depends on the people you have supporting you. If you have enough money to have a crew and you have a bunch of people that you know how to work with. So maybe it's not so different after all.
I don't know. What do you think the biggest difference is?
I feel like a lot of the preparation is maybe different, or at least like I was able to direct a short at school, and like I had to learn about how to frame, which is so different from what you do on stage, because there you have this entire stage, and you can try to force people's eyes to certain parts of the stage based on blocking and everything. But with the camera, you have a lot more like control over that, because you really specifically frame things for the audience to see.
I mean, there's vast differences between stage acting and screen acting. And I talk about that a lot. I tell actors a lot on set that I don't want to see the acting at all. No acting, no acting. So you say that to a stage actor and they're going to be like, what? Excuse me? I don't know. My mind is blanking on this. I know there's like very obvious, clear differences between the two, but to me, the biggest difference is in the acting itself.
Yeah.
And maybe that when you're in film, the kind of sets that you're creating, there, and also the acting itself, it's meant to be real. You're not trying to make fake things. You're trying to, a lot of the time. I mean, sometimes, it's like a severed head, obviously, but for the most part, everything, you have to create something that is real. The best way to make it look real is to have it be real. So that includes the acting, where, I mean, it's a little edgy when we're getting into like making actors recreate traumatic scenes. But I always tell them, go as far as you possibly can towards actually believing what you're saying and doing without it causing you psychological harm.
Yeah, I found a lot of my actor friends have like difficulty, going too far and then hurting themselves too.
I never had that problem. I'm like, I'll just hurt myself as an actor. I'll cause psychic damage and then I'll fix it later. I know that's not everybody.
What kind of technical skills do you think you need to have in order to direct? None. When you started, did you know a lot about different lighting techniques and sound? No.
I still don't know about lighting techniques. I don't know anything about lighting.
I was told once by a lighting designer that to let them do it, because that's what they're in charge of.
It is. It's their job.
Yeah.
It's the DP's job to know how to shoot, lighting gaffer know how to light, sound know how, I don't need to know how I don't know how this microphone works.
Well, it's a good thing we have people we trust to do all those things.
Yeah, Quentin Tarantino talks about this, that it's not your job to make the vision happen. It's your job to have the vision, and then other people make it for you.
Yeah. This is a very specific question, because I'm not a good artist. And when I first started making films, do you think you have to be a good visual artist in order to create storyboards?
No. No, mine are like stick figures, like circles and lines and circles.
I guess it's all in the communication with the DP and making sure that they understand.
Well, there's certain things that, I don't have a whiteboard now, but there's certain different kinds of drawings that you can include in your storyboarding. So some of them might be layouts of the room and where the camera is going to be positioned and where it's aiming on certain shots. Those can be really helpful. Or if it's tracking shots or dolly, you kind of can draw little arrows to show everyone what is happening here, little blueprints. But as far as pictures of the frame, usually for me it's circles and lines. I mean, sometimes if I have time I'll go above and beyond, but I don't usually have that time.
You talked earlier about as an indie filmmaker, you kind of have to take on a lot of roles. So I'm wondering, what was your hardest day on set and why?
I spoke about this in one of the episodes, but at one point I was I had just concluded a relationship with the DP who had signed on to shoot a series of mine. And he still wanted to shoot the series even after he brutally dumped me for no reason. Stupid, said yes. Why did I do that? I think that was the hardest of like all of the feelings that I still had. And he was being so mean to me on set. And we were at a mansion that was like 2 hours outside of the city. And we had brought like 20 cast and crew, maybe more. And it was like a 18-hour day, including the drive there. And he was being mean to me. And it was very stressful because I didn't know if we were going to make the day. The whole day, I didn't know if we were going to make the day. We did make the day because I almost always make my day because that's a director's job. But at the end of the day, it was a very tough day. The AD also screamed at me at the end of the day. She like took me into another room and she screamed at me for 20 minutes. And that was fucked.
Switching subjects, steering away from the hard times. As an early career director, I guess, I'm wondering where do you go to gain experience? Like, what websites do you look for? What listings? Social media?
Wait, let me focus on this. Okay.
Yes.
Early career director.
Yeah.
Where do you find jobs?
Yeah.
You get people to give you money to make a movie.
And how do you get them to
like, you're not going to get a job that you apply for. Like, almost never will you get a job as a director that you like cold apply for. There's just too many wannabe directors. They're going to have like 500 applicants because everyone's a director now. By the way, there's too many film programs. There's too many film schools just churning out hundreds of directors every year. There's not enough work. And they're deluding people into thinking that there is going to be the work. So the only way to guarantee that you're going to get work as a director is to make your own work. You have to get in the habit of getting people on board with your vision before there's ever any money in the bank. And if you can do that, then there will be money in the bank. And if you have money, you have a film. So sorry, I hate to tell you, but I don't think I've ever gotten a job because I applied to one.
And kind of in like the same vein of, making your own work and finding those people to fund your work, is the industry all about who you know? And if so, how do you break into it?
Hold on. Let me answer that first. Kind of. Basically, because filmmaking is already like an 11 out of 10 of hard, because you're creating this imaginary second universe on top of the existing universe. So you're basically playing God and constructing an alternate reality within reality. That is very hard. And then you're battling the elements, you're battling time, sunrise, sundown, other people who are also think they're gods. So basically, if you have to do all that, you want to work with people who are going to take as little energy from you as possible. That you automatically are using energy to work with someone you don't know, because there's going to be even just like 1% of anxiety of the unknown. That's natural. And if you have social anxiety, then there will be a lot of anxiety working with people that you don't know, because you don't know if they're going to have an attitude problem. You don't know if they're good at their job. You don't know, at a certain level, you can kind of presume that people are going to be good at their jobs, or you hope, but even then, that's not a guarantee. And there is such a thing as personality conflict. So the unknown part of things creates an energy sink that you needed that energy to do your job. I was directing over the weekend, and there were so many things where I noticed my energy and my focus diverting to things that they shouldn't have been diverted to. And I was consciously like, man, I really needed that energy to focus on what I am doing. So that's sort of the positive reason behind people working with folks that they already know, because you don't want to take a risk that they might be a bummer. Because if they're a bummer and you only have 100 energy units in a day and 10 of them have to go to managing that bummer person in the corner who's supposed to be doing their job but is like instead complaining, then you only have 90 energy credits left. And you needed 100 to do your job as a director. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you often find yourself working with the same people. Like if you have a good working relationship, why, if it's not broke?
Unfortunately, that is not the case. I wish.
Mhm.
And I think if I weren't in indie film still, I am trying to move into higher brackets but of budget and so on. But they're the good people who are like extraordinary at their jobs, they are usually only available for indie projects for a limited amount of time. And then if they're good, they get picked up and they rise, right? I've sort of been lately like 1 foot in, 1 foot out of filmmaking, and because it's never been my source of income. I've always had a second business that I was running on the side. So I've basically been being a full-time filmmaker and a full-time entrepreneur simultaneously since I started 10 years ago. So I feel like I haven't really done as many projects as a director as I would like. There are some people who are still willing to work with me after all these years, and I love them, and they're great. And everyone else I can't afford anymore.
They're just too good.
Yeah.
So I know you often write a lot of your own work, but when you're working with another screenwriter and you're directing, how do you offer suggestions or put in your own input without, breaking that working relationship?
The first thing is to ascertain if they even want feedback. Almost nothing that I'm going to suggest is going to make it worse. I've been writing even longer than I've been directing, so if I make a suggestion, it's because I really pretty accurately think that it's going to make it better, not worse. But they may not be open to that. They may not want to make it better. I did break one project one time in terms of the working relationship with the creator. I was directing. I asked to do a director's pass on the script. She agreed ahead of time. But then when we did get into it, she just didn't want that. Like, she said yes, and then as I was giving her, I think I did 4 passes on it, and it was getting so much funnier. Oh my God, it was getting way better and way funnier. And then in the end, she's like, oh, I just have a few tweaks. And then she added 8 pages to it for a very limited budget. I was like, that's not a tweak.
That's 8 minutes more,
That's
at least.
double the length of the film, honey. That's not a tweak. That's a whole new movie.
You're talking about situations where you've had to stop those relationships or break a project, and it's important to know when.
Yeah, I should have walked away on that one sooner, or I should have just been like, I will shoot this C plus B minus script and do minimal feedback, or just get them to make improv on the day.
Mm-hmm.
And then, that's usually going to be funnier anyway for comedy scripts. So let her see it in the edit. But, when you're sitting down with the creator and you're thinking about whether to work on a movie or not, you have to be aware you're going to be working closely with them for 2 years. It's not just the length of the shoot, cut and that's it, you part ways. So the director needs to make sure that each stage of the post-production is good.
Yeah.
It's like a 2-year relationship. You have to really not be annoyed by them.
Kind of in this same vein, how do you get through disagreements on set and work through those?
I don't have much ego, honestly. I'm strong with my opinions, but that's different than ego. And so I don't think I get along well with people who are bringing their ego into the conversation. And that does happen, It's one thing if they're an A-list actor and that's just part of the game. You have to just go with it. But if they're on the crew and they're bringing that can be tough. So that I don't have very much patience for that. we are all working toward what is the right answer and what's the thing that's going to make the movie or the show the best. And if you're really disagreeing about what the right, most appropriate answer is, I find it usually comes down to either taste, like, oh, this person's sense of humor is like very different from mine, or it comes down to a sense of risk aversion. I am not very risk averse, and some folks are very risk averse. So I feel like the conflicts that I've had have been around risk. And I'm usually the director that's going to go for it, even if the producer's like freaking out. I remember one time we were filming All Hail Beth, and there's this scene, it's a really good show on Brick TV that I created. And there's this scene where the lead actress runs into the street, and we were filming under the Manhattan Bridge in Dumbo, in this like pretty big intersection. And she runs out into the street and screams, ah, and 50 extras run after her and kneel in the street worshiping her because she's become a Babylonian goddess. And
Nice.
we didn't have a permit, and the best we could do was like a couple people trying to slow down cars before they hit us. And we got the shot. It looks freaking great. But my producers were pissed. I'm like, well, why didn't you get the permits? Mm-hmm. If it's so unsavory to you. You know, that's how they filmed 28 Days Later.
Yeah, which has the new movie coming out in 28 years.
Correct. Yeah. Have you seen 28 Days Later?
No, I actually haven't.
It's fucking terrifying. You have to see it.
I know it's like a zombie horror kind of.
Cillian Murphy's in it? He stars in it.
I had no idea.
He stars in it when he's very young. And they do this amazing scene. Like, let's be honest, the best part of most zombie movies is when they're first waking up and the world is ended and they're like catching up to what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So before they see the zombies and they're just like, where is everybody? Like, that really is the best part of those kinds of movies. So they filmed it at like 5 a.m. in London when no one was on the street, illegally, no traffic stopping.
All right, so my last question, what's a piece of advice you would give to an early career director that you wish you had known when you started out?
An early career director, for example, you.
As in me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. My advice is to you specifically to get high on your own supply. And I'm not going to say that applies to everybody, but for you, you know, femme, non-binary, people are going to not take you seriously, and you have to have a louder radio signal than them. You have to be like, that's nice. Anyway, and just do your own thing really loudly and proudly. And no matter what other people are thinking, well, first of all, get the money, right? And then once you do have the money and you have the people or the resources, be like, no, this is it. This is where it's at. This is where culture is at. This is where comedy is at. This is where filmmaking is at. And I don't give a fuck what you think I'm doing. You're a loser. And just keep doing it. I made some of my most interesting work when I was between the ages of 18 and 25. Like really out there stuff that was so cool. I'm so proud of it. Like that was when I got on all the covers of all the newspapers. The Times, the Post, AM New York, Gawker, back, rest in peace. But that was when I was Village Voice, like cover stories, because I didn't care what other people thought. And if I had just kind of stayed with it, some stuff happened and I left New York for a bit and then came back to go to acting school. So I kind of abandoned that devised theater and performance art aspect. And I just wish that I had the confidence to stay with it, because it really got traction, that kind of that kind of I'm going to do what I want thing. What do you think of that?
No, that really resonates because my department, like my program was all about devised work, was all about collaboration. And so I think, having just graduated, it's really scary, stepping into the real world. But it is really about having the confidence in yourself. And even though I'm young and just graduated and everything, I know what I'm doing and I know what work I want to do and what other people will enjoy too. And just trusting that I do know what I'm doing. And just all I can do is try to convince other people that I do know.
Yeah, exactly. Because young people think that the older people are where it's at and that they have all the answers and that they're winning at life. And let me fucking tell you, older people think that young people have all the answers and that you know what's going on and that you are winning at life. And they want to be you. Older people want to be young. So don't have any delusions of inferiority because they all wish that they were your age and doing it all over again. Like you actually are in the most powerful position, I think. That's our show.
Good to hear.
Yeah, it's been great chatting with you, AMT. I don't know what
Were you shaking hands? We're shaking hands.
It's been great chatting with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
And yeah, we'll see you next week.
The Vermilion Podcast is sponsored by Vermilion, a home for artists. We offer classes, coaching, and community for creatives and innovators in the arts. If you're ready to find your voice and build the life of your dreams, we're here to support you every step of the way. Check out clubvermilion.com and schedule a free call today.